August 4th edition of the Daily Devo Live, and it is football week, y'all. It is football week. As you can tell by my adornment today, I am wearing yet another one of my Denver Broncos jerseys and hats. You can see Broncos. There we go. One of many. So there we are. So good morning, everybody. Welcome. I know folks are starting to come on board today. It always takes folks a little bit of time to get on there, but we're going to do this. I'm gonna share this a little bit so we can maybe grab some more folks today. Sometimes that does work. So we'll share it to a few of our groups. We'll share it to our church Facebook page. You know, sharing is good. That's what we learned when we were children, right? To share is what we are supposed to do. So that's what I'm doing today. Just sharing away, y'all. And hopefully we'll snag some folks as we come along. So good to see everybody. It is Tuesday again. Here we are, and going into month 5, right? Isn't that April, May, June, July, and we're entering into 5 months. 5 months of this craziness that we call Corona quarantine, right, or whatever it is that everybody's calling it. And the news was slightly good, I guess. I don't know how it is today, but a couple days ago, it was slightly good that our county here in Austin, Texas, Travis County and Austin proper, was experiencing a slight decline in the number of cases that were reported of coronavirus. March count 6 months. Yeah. Yeah, it feels like it, doesn't it? Woof. That's a long time, people. It's a long time, and we have more to go, but it's all good. We'll be doing this together, and we will get through it. It will be all good. So good morning, everybody. Yeah, we're starting to grab a few more people, and that's always good when that happens. It's always great to have a crowd, isn't it? So I broadcast on Twitter, which is fun, and no one watches me on Twitter. I think I do get views after the fact because the video does stay up. I don't have a ton of followers. I think I've got 423 followers on Twitter, which is just slightly less than Beyonce. Like 0.1%. I'm just for giggles, let's see how many followers that Beyonce has. Let's see if we can find her official Twitter. Beyonce. I don't know. Follow her. Let me follow Beyonce, and we will see. If I can actually see this. It's like weird because she's like sort of hidden in a way. There we go. She's got, no, that's not it. Anyway, hold on. I can't seem to find her actual Twitter. Anyway, I'm sure it's in the millions, whatever. That was an exercise in futility. Sorry about that. But anyway, so yeah, I don't have a whole lot of followers on Twitter, but I got a few. And so there you go. So today, everyone, I am wearing one of my mini jerseys, as I said earlier, as it was previously stated. And this one is my man, Champ Bailey, number 24. Champ Bailey was a cornerback for the Broncos for many years, and had a lot of good years with us, and was amazing. and was probably one of the best cornerbacks I've ever seen to play the game. I mean, just an amazing athlete and a good guy. So he started off as a Washington Redskin and was which no longer the Redskins, which it's about time, y'all. But here's the thing, okay, about the Washington football team as it's being called. The Washington football team, they don't even have a logo. They've got just a W. It's like just I'm going to try to see if I can find the logo itself to see if I can just get you and if I can just have a moment where you can actually see it, because it's kind of weird, honestly. And I don't know. Let's see if I can. I'm going to try to upload this real fast, and then I can pop it up there in the place of the football. Okay, so if you could see up there in the right-hand corner, that is the new Washington logo. So it's just the Washington football team. They haven't figured out exactly what their new mascot is going to be, but they finally, without a doubt, the most racist of all team mascots. I mean, it's one thing to be like the Braves, the Atlanta Braves or the Braves. I mean, that kind of, there's like a thing in there that sort of, is like, lifting up the, the sort of, nobility of the First Nation people, that kind of thing. I mean, you could argue that. There's lots of other teams that are named after Native American tribes. Generally, where the team is located indicates that. So the the University of Illinois has the Illini, which were the First Nations people that were in that region. There's like a zillion other ones, right? The Florida State Seminoles, which is my alma mater, is named after the Seminole tribe of First Nation folks who were unconquered. That's kind of the thing that the Seminole Nation that they lift up and that Florida State has also adopted. Although we've been conquered plenty of times, especially in the last few years. But there was a time when we weren't. I mean, there was a time when my college football team was always at the top of the polls, and we won 3 national championships, and so good stuff. But the Seminole tribe endorses the use of their name with Florida State, and they have a ceremony every year. There's a huge statue of a Seminole warrior outside of the stadium, and it says "Unconquered" on it. And it was commissioned and blessed by the Seminole Nation. Because they were never defeated. There were a lot of the other nations, Cherokee and Choctaw and basically all of them, right? Were all defeated in battle and had to surrender. And the Seminoles did not. They just melted into the swamps of the Everglades. And there's an interesting story about that. Like during the Civil War, there were a group of slaves, some of them freed, and some of them not freed, that had escaped, and who the Seminole tribe took them in, and they became part of the Seminole Nation, and kind of hid in the swamps of Florida. And there's a whole great story about that. But anyway, so lots of teams, sports teams, have those kinds of things. I think the ones that struggle the most probably are the Cleveland Indians. That's a kind of a derogatory term now. You want to say First Nation is if you want the official and proper way to address that now, it is First Nation people. Native American is also something that people will use, but I think officially people will say First Nation because they were here long before any of the settlers and any of the colonists and so forth came. So at any rate, The Washington Redskins finally got rid of their racist name, and are now going to be called the Washington Football Team until such time as they can figure out a mascot. Some of the things that have been bandied about are like the Washington Warriors, which, or the Washington Sentinels, or the Washington Monuments. That's another one that I think was getting some play, the Washington Monuments. It's going to be weird, but at any rate, there you go. So yeah, I don't know how I got started off on that. Oh, Champ Bailey. So the guy's jersey that I'm wearing started off as a Washington Redskin, and it was a blockbuster trade between the Broncos and Washington. We traded the Broncos our star running back, and we got Champ Bailey and something else. And so at any rate, it was a great trade. At any rate, there you go. So it's football week, and I'm excited, obviously, about football. I can't wait for it to get started. Basketball is going on, hockey's going on, all those things are going on. It's good to have sports back, although they're having problems with. So I'm not sad about this. I'm sad that it happened, but I'm like, it couldn't happen to a nicer team. But the St. Louis Cardinals also had like a big outbreak, and then the New York Yankees as well. And apparently they didn't have it as bad, but the Marlins, the Florida Marlins had, and they're called the Miami Marlins. They had the worst one. So basically, they just weren't taking care of themselves. They weren't wearing their masks. They weren't adhering to the protocols that were given by Major League Baseball, and so they ended up getting a bunch of cases of coronavirus. So there you go. Okay, so enough about sports for now. We're going to be coming back to it. I changed my sign. It's not a quote. It's actually like a cheer. So it's a football cheer. Hustle, hit, never quit. Because in football, American football, you hit one another. Just in case y'all weren't aware, that's what happens. You hit one another. And I'll talk a little bit about that in a bit because I played football, and I was pretty good at it. I was a little skinny kid, but I was fast, and I didn't care what happened to me. So I was like a missile, swooping in to make tackles and crush people, and they were always shocked. There's like this skinny kid comes flying out of nowhere and tackles somebody. And I played tight end and a couple other positions. I wasn't as good as my son. My oldest son was he was just a great football player, and was cut short by injury. So that's a bummer. But anyway, let's talk about stuff that's happening in the world. Let's talk a little bit about the things that are going on in our sort of world too, the extended world of Shepherd of the Hills Presbyterian Church, and whatever ministry that I'm doing that kind of reaches folks as well from far and wide. So let's talk a little bit about that. I had an interesting. I've had some interesting things as I've been, sort of watching some of the news and some of the things that have been going on. Just in general, just seeing how so many things get politicized in this day and age. It's just a sad thing when we politicize things like masks, for example. But this isn't the first time that something like that has happened. So back in 1918, 100 odd years ago, right? We had a pandemic, the Spanish flu, influenza. It was killing tons of people. I mean, it killed I don't know how many people in the United States, like 600,000-700,000 people. I mean, so imagine, 6 times the number of people dying as we've already had die here, and then millions of people worldwide. So it was a terrible pandemic. And so certain cities actually had to put in restrictions, based on the pandemic. And so among them were like cities like Chicago and New York and Philadelphia and San Francisco. So San Francisco had a huge outbreak of the Spanish flu. And so they went back and forth over time. They would institute mask restrictions so that you had to wear a mask to go into buildings. You had to wear a mask to buy things. You had to wear a mask to go on the trolley. I mean, it's hard to imagine, right? Because we think that this is all new, right? All this stuff that we're experiencing is new. It's not new. The difference between then and now is that we've got 24-hour news cycle. We've got the social media. We've got a lot more advancements in science to understand, disease and how it spread. But in 1918, there were people who would refuse to wear their masks because it infringed on their freedom. Shocking, right? That human beings would do that, right? Especially Americans. I know it's a shocking thing, right? That they would do that, but they did, so there were protests. There were, people were arrested. You could spend up to 10 days in jail for not wearing a mask in certain situations. And so they would go back, the cases would go down, and then they would sort of lift the mask restrictions. And there was like a huge celebration in San Francisco when they lifted the mask, and people were throwing their masks on the streets, and they were scattered all over the place as they were burning them and all kinds of stuff. And then there was another outbreak, right? There was another rise in cases, so they'd have to go back again. So anyway, what I'm saying is that the more things change, the more they stay the same, right? That it became a political issue then too. So, I mean, it's a sad thing that we don't learn anything from these things, right? That people will politicize something like that and make it something of a statement about, freedom and so forth. And but that's just a sad fact. So unfortunately, that's kind of what happens. And here we are again, right? 100 and some odd years later, still having the same conversations, still having the same struggles. It's a wonder that God is just, it's like God is like face palming like every day. Oh man, and it's so sad, like how many people who call themselves Christians, and they're just they get so angry about all these things. And I had some guy that posted something because I posted this funny video that was done by Funny or Die, which is a really great channel on Comedy Central, like kind of the Comedy Central YouTube channel. Funny or Die is really funny. Will Ferrell kind of was at the start of that, and so it was an ode to masks. It was super hilarious, and so I thought, I got to share. So I did, thinking, how could anyone have